Essa aqui é a cara do amanhã. Que haja luz e grandes espaços abertos. Esse não é um lugar para pessoas baterem ponto.
O papel do WeWork é o de elevar a consciência mundial.
Hello, I'm Leo from CNN Brazil. Hi, Jared. It's a pleasure to talk to you. How are you doing?
Great, man. Thank you so much.
All right. So lately, there's been this kind of consensus that these young entrepreneurs like Adam has something wrong with them, almost like if they're not human. Did you felt that way on the process to get into Adam's shoe?
No, I never felt like that. I mean, it's a guy who started a company from nothing and grew it to a $47 billion empire. Had a lot of success, made his dreams a reality, but also failed a lot, made a lot of mistakes, got caught up. And we look at all that. We look at the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I think that's what's compelling about the piece.
Great. And how did you manage to, during the process and to get into Adam's shoe, how did you manage to recreate this huge ego that you can see that he kind of had?
Well, I mean, look, I'm an artist, so I understand ego. I also understand failure. I understand fear and doubt. But you, as an artist, you gotta have a voice inside you that has a lot of faith in what you're doing. So you just look at that and you magnify that. With my band, 30 Seconds to Mars, it taught me a lot about being on stages around the world, having confidence, having a certain amount of bravado. Standing on stage at Rock in Rio, even, in front of all of those people is incredible. And you can't do that unless you have a certain amount of faith in what you do, right?
Yeah, exactly. And speaking of this kind of ego, I think the main message that we have in the movie, it's about ego. Do you think it's just about this, or also a movie about life that has failures, have ego, all this kind of stuff? Did you aim at some message in specific to portray Adam?
Well, I mean, look, there are lots of CEOs out there that have huge egos. There are lots of successful people that are greedy, that have huge egos too. So it's not just that. I think it's really complicated, but it's like, it's mythological in a way, like the flight of Icarus. And sometimes you can fly a little too close to the sun.
O WeWork não é só uma empresa. É movimento.
In the beginning of the show, actually throughout the whole show, we can see Adam vibing into Roar by Katy Perry, which is a great song. And I would like to know what you think another pop song that Adam would love to vibe to.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe he would love 30 Seconds to Mars, Closer to the Edge.
That's a good one. That's a good one. That was my last question, actually. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure. And have a great day.
You too, brother. See you soon.
Temos que ter sonhos.
O Adam vai manifestar eles.
É mágico e você é mágica. Quando eu disser o vocês dizem
Hi, Lee. Hi, Drew. I'm Leo from CNN Brazil. It's a pleasure to talk to you both. How are you guys doing today?
Doing good. Well. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you. So my first question is about your guys' relationship. Have you guys known before this project came along, and how was your process to build this chemistry that you guys needed to create the show? Lee, you can go first if you want to.
Sure. Drew and I have been friends for over 15 years, and Drew was a big executive. I worked at Fox and Warner Brothers, a big movie executive, and then shifted into writing. And I read a script of his years ago and just flipped forward. And we were always talking about, how we can collaborate and, what projects would make sense. And then this project came along where Wondery, the podcast company, approached me with the WeCrashed podcast before it had even been released. I listened to it. I flipped for it. I sent it to Drew. He also really responded to it. And that led to us just starting to take walks and really kind of just talk about it kind of in its earliest stages. And, it was a great, you don't quite know what a partnership is going to be like until you're in it. And we've now been working on this project together for over 2 years. And it's been really fruitful. And I think we've challenged each other in both, in great ways. And I think we always had a very clear vision. I think we had a shared vision of what the tone and the feel of the show should be. And then within that, every day was a series of debates trying to kind of get the best version of everything out there.
Eu sou tudo que você tem.
Você sabe que não é Deus, né?
Você tem que admitir que eu pareço pouco com ele.
And speaking about creating the show, since it's based on a podcast, how was this transformation, this adaptation? Since we are, I mean, usually you get to see in the screen either big or small adaptations from books. Was it kind of different to create this adaptation based on a podcast?
First of all, the Wondery podcast is fantastic, and it really fascinated us. So what was great? Yes, it's different than working from a book or an article or some other source material, but what was great about it was it really gave us kind of the structure for the most part of our show, right? Because the podcast lays out so perfectly just the kind of the essential beats of the story, right? In a very economical way, it tells you about the rise and fall of this massive company. So we were able from the very first kind of days of the writer's room to say, okay, we know this is the beginning. We know this is the middle. We know this is the end. And the podcast really supplied us with those story beats. And it allowed us to do what we were most interested in, which is to focus on the characters. And we could really kind of fill in the spaces in between the widely reported events of the story.
Got it. And how was for you guys the process to choose Jared and Hathaway to play the characters?
During the process of writing the script, it's, sometimes it's useful to kind of have actors in your head to say, just to kind of imagine and make it feel more real. And the two people we always had were Jared Leto and Anne Hathaway. And, you never get your first choice. I mean, it's kind of famous in Hollywood, these big directors and they wanted this person, they ended up with this person, and it turns out great. And we were so fortunate. We were praying that we would even get one of them to agree to sign on. The fact that we got both of them, we feel, as lucky as people can be. The process was Jared and Ann both read the scripts, and we met with them, and usually, they're both movie actors, and usually an actor gets the full script and then you talk about it. With this, we had written a pilot. The pilot was 60 pages. The completed version of the entire show would be close to 500 pages. And so we're only giving them an eighth of the thing. So they're asking questions about like, okay, I like it, but what happens next? And then what, they'd only gotten just a little hint of it. And so they really had to take a leap of faith with us based on kind of where we said the show was going so that they could sign on and really be a part of it.